Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, as the selling season starts heating up, you'd think that there are still quite a few home sellers who have homes that did not sell. What are the reasons, Barb, that they did not sell? And more importantly, what can they do about it?
Well, Richard, I have to say, I don't believe you can blame the market. Homes sell in every market. I was in business during the mortgage meltdown. I was in business during the dot-com boom and bust. I was in business when the market was flying high, watching the clouds go by. And what we've seen since then is just sort of this really slow trickle down in prices. At the same time, the buyers are super picky. Okay, they want it all. They want HGTV and they want a really good price. Now, there are some buyers that are okay with a home that needs work if it's priced right, because they're very well educated these days. They understand they can go out and get a renovation loan right now and actually finance up to 75,000 into their loan and put their own touches on the home. So it allows them to get into a home at a lower price and be able to remodel, update as they need. So if a house is not selling, it's one of four issues, but I have to say the top one that overrides everything else is pricing. It could be home sale preparation. It could be the way it's marketed. I had one sale 2 years ago where the agent that they originally hired used his smartphone to take pictures of the home, and they were kind of dark and unimpressive. The home was gorgeous. The home sellers even spent the money to bring in professional furniture and put it in this home and make it show beautifully, but nobody saw that because the pictures were so bad. Your first showing is online. If you don't get that right, either with pricing, preparation, or promotion, and picking the right agent is tied to promotion, then it could mean that the buyers basically vote with their feet and decide not to go see your home. Now, not every home is presented remodeled, and that's okay, because there are quite a few buyers. I've got one under contract right now that the plumbing is broken, all the drywall in the basement's pretty much blown out, but the upper level is kind of updated. It probably needs fresh carpet. And I got a bidding war on that. Why? Because it's priced right. They knew the condition. It doesn't matter. So when you price it right, that is a strategy by itself. And when that happens, the buyers see the value and what it could be, and they will move forward with a deal like that. Now, just looking at kind of the general market stats and what's going on right now, pending sales are actually up quite a bit. We've seen a big surge, especially in El Paso County in the last 90 days. So that's good. That's a leading indicator. And it was a little bit sluggish when I checked this a few weeks ago. However, Douglas, Teller, and Pueblo counties, their pending sales are somewhat flat. The other thing that we're seeing is the number of available homes has kind of slowed down a little bit. In other words, it's now very similar to what it was for the same time a year ago. So that tells me, all right, our inventory is not quite surging, and the inventory and the pending sales are picking up. The other thing that's happening is the average days on market are dropping in general. Now, that's a good thing. If the days on market have dropped compared to what we saw in the fall or last year, I think last year we reached a point over the winter where our average days on market from the time you go on the market to the time you accept a contract was over 104 days. Now it's down to about 89, 90 days, which is kind of a normalized market. So what does that mean to a home seller? It means from the time you put your house on the market, it might take 3 months to get an offer. That's a long time. I don't know about you, Richard, but having a lot of home sellers really hate having strangers come through their house and criticize their house and, whine about, I don't like this and I don't like that. What do you think?
I think it's stressful and a little bit annoying, even if it's just for a day or two. But when we're talking about weeks or months, that's a lot of stress for a homeowner.
Yeah, 3 months, and you're like, why is my house not sold? And I can say, just in general, overall, people are used to right now. Didn't you notice that? Like, it just seems like everybody wants instant solution, instant satisfaction.
Instant gratification more so now than ever before. And the person who sits in with you on the program is guilty of that as well, Barb. I hate to admit. Instant gratification. Yep.
Yeah. The interest rates are actually up again. So now we're seeing almost 6.5 for a 30-year fixed conventional, and almost 6 for the government loans, VA and FHA. So what I'm seeing quite a bit is many of the buyers, if they think that there is no competition, are coming in and they're asking the seller to help pay their loan closing costs so they can buy down that interest rate and make it more affordable. Now, if you have it priced right, you could go up in price to cover their cash need, to cover their closing cost. And we do that for our clients all the time. New home sales are dropping a bit. And really, to sell right now, price is number one, without a doubt, followed by, if you are going to go a full market strategy, you have to be the best looking home in your neighborhood. And it has to be presented right. You wouldn't believe some of the weird things that people assume about properties. Like, if you don't have pictures, sometimes they don't trust it unless it's way underpriced. So all these factors come into play, but I will say absolutely pricing is number one. And I hate to say this, but unfortunately, a lot of real estate agents just don't have enough at bats. I'll use a baseball term, in order to really figure out what's the right price for the home. What I mean by that is, if you look at Zillow statistics, Zillow says 72% of all real estate agents last year sold 0 homes. That's none, nada. And then a huge majority, more like 80% of them, might sell 2 or 3. So even if they're just selling 2 or 3, that kind of basically means that they don't have their finger on the pulse on how to price a home properly. And when you have the prices kind of creeping down like they're doing right now, it's hard to make the guess. So that's why we're seeing a whole lot of home sellers actually reducing their price after they go on the market. And that's not the best scenario to get the most money. Unfortunately, 87% of all real estate agents get out of the business every 5 years. A lot of that has to do with the industry being weak at teaching them how to market. And there's no excuse for that, but that's how it is. And what they had seen in the last 5 years was a rising market, and most of them aren't trained on what to do with the market that's contracting a little bit. So that's why it's so important to pick the right team and get everything right and make sure it's promoted right. And a corporate seller that I worked for is called an asset manager, who sells foreclosed homes. And I hate to say this, but foreclosures are on the rise, especially in markets where they have a lot of military buyers, because they came in, they bought houses in 2021, 2022, even through 2023, paid full price, no money down. Now they're trying to sell it a couple of years later, and the values did not improve unless they got a really good deal, which is less likely at that time. So they're upside down, yet they're being transferred. They have to move. So they're either stuck with doing a short sale or a foreclosure or renting it out. And all of those have their own set of problems to it. So it's really important when you go on the market that you attract the buyers, and you'll be able to tell immediately when you go on the market. The market is going to speak back instantly. If you get a lot of people that want to see the house within the first week, that's a great sign. It means it's going to go. But unfortunately, most agents really don't sell very many homes. And so what happens sometimes is those agents that might be working with buyers that go to houses end up trying to position themselves as experts and inadvertently talk them out of a house that they may want. They'll say really dumb things like, it's not worth that much. you know. And or I had one just last weekend. We had a huge crowd at an open house at our grand opening open house. Almost everybody loved this home. In fact, that house was being stocked from the moment we put it on the market. There, people were coming by ahead of the open house trying to get in with the sellers. And one agent came by at the open house, very lovely lady. She could see the demand. Her buyer loved the house. They wanted to make an offer. We ended up right after the open house getting two other offers that wanted to answer right away. And she slow rolled her offer till late at night. And by then, oops, sorry, it's under contract. If your buyer wants, and I'll just say this is why agents do this. Originally the plan was, okay, we're gonna wait and look at offers in a few days, but you can't guarantee that, right? Sometimes sellers change their mind and they're like, no, maybe I feel better if we just had it done and I could move on to my next thing. So some agents think it's a strategy if their buyer wants the house to hold on to the offer, to not send it to the listing agent until the very last minute. Or a lot of times I'll get those offers. If I say the deadline is Monday at 5, I'll get the offer Monday at 5:30 or 6. So I'm in front of the seller trying to present the offer, and I'm scrambling to gather this other one to have them consider it all at once. And it's not a good idea if the seller changes their mind about the timeline. If your buyer wants a house, get them the house. That's your job. It's crazy. Anyway, my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about why a house is not selling. And next up, we're going to cover some tips on how you can make it sell really quickly. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing the why a house may not be selling. There's a lot to that. And if people are planning to move later this year, you want one of Barb's free reports. We'll talk about that as well. And you need to prepare to sell for the most money. That's what Barb does for you. So, Barb, what are some other things that home sellers ought to be doing to sell fast and, as always, get the most money?
Well, first of all, you want to get a plan, right? Get a plan on when you're going on the market, get a plan on how you're going to market it, empty, not empty, that sort of thing. And if you want full market value, that's fine. It's okay to do that, but the buyers are expecting everything to be perfect. And the sellers that follow our guidance and do that right, they win every time. They usually get more than asking price. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a full-on remodel. You don't have to go out and put quartz on the counters and make it just like a model home. It's not necessary. Sometimes it's just make the home priced right and that the buyers could move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives without having to spend money or spend cash instantly. Now, if you're going for the as-is strategy, then it has to be priced what I call below market value, very, very realistically, in order to get interest on the home. So whenever a home seller decides to price it realistically, you get huge crowds at the grand opening, you get offers out of the gate, and you get her done really quickly. But other people choose to, reach for the skies. And what happens when you slowly walk the price down, over time, you're going to net less money. But once you get to that right price, you might even get multiple offers, which has happened multiple times with me. So you want to make sure you make a decision about pricing it and how you're going to position the home. And then if it doesn't work, if you're on the market and it's not working, the market's going to speak back. If you're not getting very many showings, something's really wrong. If you're getting a few showings, no offers, you're still off. If you're getting offers, you're right there, stay there. It's just a matter of time before you get the right offer. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to get the highest price for your Colorado home without guessing or overpricing.